Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from beautiful Kinderhook, New York, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center, New York, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show, and welcome to Thursday's Srimad Bhagavatam class. It's Thursday. It's Thursday. Everything can be a song. Good morning,
It's
everybody.
Thursday. Good morning, Raghu. You feeling good?
I'm feeling peppy. Feeling peppy.
That's what I thought.
It's my 5 a.m. peppiness. If you're not feeling peppy, I'm here to carry you through it. Come on. Getting up early every day, reading the Bhagavatam. It's beautiful. And we're going to do it. Hey, we're going to be in New York together on Sunday morning.
Oh,
On
yeah.
Sunday
So we'll be together? Or you mean for the show?
Well, maybe not, I guess. I'm not staying at your house. I'm staying at my mom's.
You're staying at the Bhakti Center? Or you're staying at your mother's?
I don't know yet. I got to visit my mom. So maybe her place. And then I'll be in Boston this weekend. I hope I see a bunch of you in Boston. I think it's almost sold out. If it's not, I will see you there. And
You're doing two things there, right?
I'm doing, well, it's one day at Boston Yoga Union, a great place in Boston. A lot of stuff shut down in Boston. A lot of yoga studios shut down everywhere.
Sure. New York, so many.
Super Soul Chatham shut down.
Yeah.
Taking this party on the road.
We had a lot of people signed up for the Sage page yesterday.
Oh, great.
Hundreds of people signed up for the Sage page yesterday.
Great.
Yeah. So,
Pull a name from the hat. We're going to pull a random name from the hat, and they got to marry Justin.
I don't understand why the Sage page is connected to
Arranged marriage Tuesday.
arranged marriages, but somehow in your mind it is. It was never part of the conception going into it, but hey, if it works.
People need to get married. We got to fulfill that for them.
Okay. But if you want to sign up for our weekly newsletter with all kind of like notes from the previous week and summaries and announcements, and I think we could share stuff like photos of the picnic and all that, right?
Photos of the what? Of the picnic. That's a great
things
idea.
like that, right? Yeah.
If you have any ideas for what should we put on the Sage page,
Just share that with us.
we're open for anything.
But you can just go to our website, wisdomofthesages.com, and you can sign up for the Sage page there.
Yeah.
It could be. I think this is the Wisdom of the Sages event of the summer. This picnic.
Yeah.
So I'm very
too.
convinced. You're like, maybe.
Well, I was wondering if to share that thing with you publicly. That thing, the thing we're talking about lately.
Oh,
Should I share that?
It's up to you.
There was a thing, because I've been always like joking about how much I love Madhava's rock band.
Yeah.
It's my newest infatuation with this band, and so I've been talking about them, and then I wrote them. Gauramani gave me their phone number, and so I wrote them, and they just said, Prabhu, we're really busy right now doing all this stuff. Our team is very small. Please forgive us.
You wrote them to invite them onto this show.
Yeah, I wrote them to invite them on the show, and they just sort of like humbly super politely said, we can't do it. And then I made this whole like elaborate thing about like, oh, I was rejected
And I think the way I was saying it was sort of like, I was sort of saying it tongue in cheek,
Yeah.
but I think they found it and they read it. And they think they were,
I'd listen to
they,
it.
yeah. And they were just like, no, Prabhu, we didn't reject you. And I thought, and so it sort of like became a thing on the internet. And I like wrote them this very, very sweet letter back, thinking I offended them, a message. And then they wrote back sweet. We were talking about this in Sweet Baby Krishna
Tell me, what were you
yesterday.
talking about?
Let me tell you. We were reading about Brahma getting humbled
Oh,
by
man,
Krishna.
yeah,
Brahma
it's-
tried to trick Krishna, and Krishna tricked him right on back. You
Yeah.
can't trick Krishna. And so when devotees get humiliated, hurt, or offended, or humiliated or hurt, or their ego gets hurt, they either let it roll off or they take some personal responsibility. You know what we've read yesterday in the Krishna book, or in the 10th canto? The verse we always quote. It's the wisdom of the
Tatena
sage's word.
Kampam. Yeah.
Yeah. Say it again.
Tatena Kampam Shishamukshmana. That
Say the English. You have it?
that it's translated different ways, but that one who tolerates all of the difficulties that come in life, right? And interpreting it as if, like, you know what, I deserve much worse due to my past behavior, right? Like I'm due more of this hard karma, right? But meanwhile, from the core of their heart, offering obeisances to Krishna.
That's
That for that person, what is it? Mukti Pade Svadhyabhak, that mukti, that liberation becomes their rightful claim.
So we're going through hardships, and instead of saying, this isn't fair, they're not fair, the government's not fair, my spouse isn't fair, the
Why
kids
me?
aren't fair, nothing's fair for me. Instead of doing that, taking full responsibility, what I've got, I most likely deserve much worse. And I'm going to, and you can take that right back to your next lives, which you have no clue of. But when you take it like that, you relinquish the burden of resentment that we carry around with us. And that kills us, crushes us, puts us in a downward spiral towards some very dark places. And this is my material life, is getting offended, getting upset, digging in my heels. And then the materialists I'm doing it with, they dig in their heels. And it becomes like this ongoing, we've seen these wars between countries go on since I've been a child. It's a never ending war. There's never empathy, trying to understand the other person's side. It's just my side is right and you're wrong. And you can't hear that, then it's because you got issues. And they say that back to you. And so immediately when devotees get in any sort of hiccup, something doesn't happen smoothly, devotees, we practice, I'm quick to apologize. I'm very quick to apologize. That should be just like, that's your tattoo today, Mara. I'm quick to apologize. What do you think?
I mean, I get it.
Yeah, just say quick to apologize.
Okay.
And quick
Let's
to
get
forgive.
Dustin. Hit Dustin.
Yeah.
Let's make an appointment.
And quick to forgive also. If someone apologizes, say, you know what? No problem. I forgive you. Because usually if someone's apologizing, there was two people hurt in the party. But devotees, they squash that super quick. That's another one. Squash it quick.
Squash.
squash.
There we go. Squash.
Quick squash. Squash quick. Squash it quick. Give a hug.
Yeah.
Give a hug.
I like that.
Just likes that one.
So you felt a little bit like you had offended the
Yeah, I felt like I offended them because I was just talking and with my brash American humor. And so I wrote back.
You squashed it quick.
I wrote back, truthfully, I had a million things to do yesterday. Kaustubha wrote me, goes, Madhav's rock band wrote back. on the
Exclamation point,
Sage's
exclamation point,
message
all
board.
caps.
And so then, even though I had a million things to do, I took that as my priority.
Right.
Offending somebody, you got to take, if you feel like you've made an offense to somebody, you got to take that as a priority and go to that person and ask for forgiveness. And then we had a sweet exchange. And I woke up this morning to more sweet exchanges from these guys.
You see that?
They're sweet. They're sweet.
Then it turned into that. No, I offended you. No, I offended you. No, I offended you.
It's the opposite of the material world.
Yeah, that's the spiritual world.
It's
Right?
the spiritual world, actually. We're doing everything opposite. It really works.
It's the one is the reflection of the other. One's upside down, one is right side up.
We were just talking about that.
That's what we've been taught. That's what this chapter's about, right?
It's flipping it. It's flipping it upside down.
Yeah, flipping it right side up.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
because
so-
material world can be a nasty place. I was mentioning something sort of sad. We grew up in my family. My father had a cousin that was an old. He was like not my age. He was more like my father's
This is
age.
getting interesting. Well, my family had a cousin. Okay, this
And
capo cousin. Interested to hear about this cousin.
well, they got in some business thing with each other, and then they had a fallout in the business.
Oh, within the brothers.
Well, the cousin and my father,
Okay.
and they were really close since childhood, and then they had a
That's tough.
fallout,
That's
and they
tough.
never spoke again. And it's just like it's the same thing. It's like you dig your heels in, and you can't be wrong,
Right.
and it's heartbreaking, and it ruins relationships, and
It causes so much. The pain of humbling oneself is much less than the pain that you go through for not humbling yourself.
oh my God, look at Mara. She's like on the keyboard. I gotta write that one down. Mm.
Yeah.
Imagine if Mara comes over one day and she's just covered in tattoos.
She really did it.
She did it. We were just joking.
Here's the translation of that verse. It's the 10th canto, 14th chapter, text number 8.
I can't believe we read it yesterday in our reading.
And there you go. So this is one translation. My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon them, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of their past misdeeds, and offering you respectful obeisances within the heart, words, and body, with the heart, words, and body. They're surely eligible for liberation, for it has become their rightful claim.
That is a poem.
That's something to live by right
That's-
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
And when we're in those hard times, and that's why my mantra. My mantra.
Krishna has a plan. Krishna has a plan.
Krishna has a plan. Krishna has a plan. Sweet baby, Krishna has a plan. Clap, clap. That's my mantra every day.
And the clap kind of like disperses whatever.
Inauspicious entities and sort of makes it sort of like a college football chant or something like.
All right.
All right. What do you say we dive in? Anyway, these are all important stuff. It's important
Agreed.
stuff, these little nugs.
Agreed.
I don't even call them nuggets anymore. I call them nugs.
As you like.
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam madhiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan. Unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Preshva Badreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes of the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, whose praise with transcendental songs will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksurunmidatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born blind, the darkness of ignorance. My teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 15, the description of the kingdom of God.
Dramatic reading by Raghunath.
Dramatic.
But why don't we do a little recap from yesterday, briefly?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we read 3 verses yesterday. We read, I think it was 23, 24, and 25. Right?
Can't remember.
Yeah, that's what it was. And, this was text 23 described the disqualification for we're talking about, this is the vision of the kingdom of God, right? Vaikuntha is the word, Vaikuntha, which literally means without anxiety. And so, but I just think it's interesting because, like, what we're going to hear now is the four Kumaras, these sages in these children's bodies. They have this ability, like yogis, to travel, and they travel to the gates of Vaikuntha, right? Gates of the spiritual world. And but we're going to read today that when they get there, what happens. But before that, Brahma, speaking to the demigods, describes he describes what the Vaikuntha is like, in some detail. And then he also describes what is the disqualification for entering and what is the qualification for entering. So it's like the qualification for entering the spiritual world or the disqualification for entering the spiritual world. But, it's not just like about like going to heaven or something like that too. Like where like the idea is just to get in there or something like that. But the idea is to develop that Vaikuntha consciousness, right? Even in this world, we can enter into Vaikuntha, right? Like we could live without anxiety.
It's quite beautiful.
Yeah.
Quite a beautiful concept.
Yeah, so when we hear this, I think we can think of it, and I'm going to read the disqualification and the qualification right now, but when we hear it, I think we can not only think of it as like, oh, this is what you need to go to another realm, like physically, but also just like what disqualifies me or qualifies me for being in that Vaikuntha consciousness right here in this lifetime, right? Remember, you know what Srila Prabhupada called his guru one time? Can you think of what I'm thinking? He was speaking about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
Walking encyclopedia.
He said that. But he also said he was a Vaikuntha man.
Oh, Vaikuntha Man, yeah.
Right? Yeah. He was
I love that. Hey,
Yeah.
it's one of these things. It's like once you get a body, expect anxiety. Once you get a body, which, we all have a body, expect anxiety. It's part of having a body because you get stuff, you fall in love stuff, and you lose stuff. That is just sort of, why dance around that fact? Why try to polish up the material world? The material world is a place where you fall in love with stuff and you lose it. It's either lost by time, it's lost by you lose it, it's lost by it's taken away from you, it's been stolen from you. But whatever it is, or it melts in front of your hands, get sick. But it's one of those things in the material world. So we're going to get anxiety. That's part of it. It's when anxiety starts to take us over. And when you connect with the internal, the eternal, which doesn't melt away, which doesn't get taken away. It only gets taken away by you giving it away.
It only gets taken away by you giving it away.
Right? Your connection with the eternal,
Yeah.
it can't get taken away by the material world.
Gotcha.
Only if you choose not to love any longer, then you're the one who gives that away.
Okay.
Everything else will be taken away from you by material nature. So expect anxiety, but go inside and then go inside, connect with Lord Vishnu, and then all of a sudden that anxiety will melt because you'll see yourself as something more than a temporary being that's trying to collect and own stuff.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's what you're saying is more or less what Brahma said to the Devas.
Tired, Mara? Caught her yawning.
Right.
Sorry, Prabhu.
Tired or bored? What is it? Come on, let's be real. Okay. So here's the disqualification, and this came in text 23. He said and basically it was the inclination to hear topics unworthy of hearing, right? Which bewilder one's intelligence and lead to the darkest regions of ignorance, right? We get caught up in hearing all kind of stuff, and it seems innocent enough, right? But actually, it's like the fertile field for like anxieties to grow out of when we just absorb our mind in materialistic sound, right? So that was the disqualification. If you have an inclination to hearing topics unworthy of hearing, right? Okay, and then the qualification for entering Vaikuntha was in text 25, and it said that there were feelings of ecstasy due to a strong attraction to hearing discussions of the Lord. Right? Because that's the source, that's the root. When you want to reconnect with that root, you become attracted. And you become attracted. And again, this was like not the kind of like, it's beyond just like the evenness. It's beyond peace. It's love. And it's a deep emotional love. feelings of ecstasy. It was describing, hairs are standing on end like goosebumps, tears, coming from the eyes, right? And that, when we hear that, like it's just, these are like involuntary symptoms of one who's feeling deep spiritual emotion. That's the qualification for freedom from anxiety, or for entering the spiritual realm. And when we hear that, naturally, like we think, and I mentioned this verse yesterday from the Shikshastakam, which are 8 verses or 8 instructions written by Sri Chaitanya. And there's those, it's like everything's in those 8 instructions, but they're in the context of the deepening of one's absorption in chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, right, and becoming absorbed in those names. And in the 6th instruction, this is the translation. It's, "O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love, flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up? When will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your names?" Right? So it's describing those kind of symptoms, which is here being listed as like the qualification for freedom from anxiety, right? But if we look at the previous verse, like the 2nd verse of the Shikshastakam, this is the description. It's, "Oh my Lord," yeah. What?
Like, you want that? Try this.
Well, yeah. First of all, it says, "Oh my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings. And thus you have hundreds of millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies." So, like, these names are just full of spiritual potency, right? And then on top of that, it says they're not even hard and fast rules for the chanting of these names. It's not like the Vedic prescriptions for sacrifice, or the very difficult yogic processes that involve renunciation and breath control and deep meditation. It's not like that, right? There's no hard and fast rules. But then it says, "Oh my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names. But I'm so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them," right? I become attracted to hearing things that are unworthy of my hearing, right? Once you go down that road, it starts getting addicting, and you're just pumping garbage into your consciousness like left and right? But then comes this verse, and this verse has been identified as like one of the most important verses in the practice of Bhakti Yoga, the 3rd instruction of the Shikshastakam, right? That, okay, these names are full of potency, but I have no attraction for them, therefore I'm not receiving the powerful benefit that's invested in them. What do you do so that someday you can get to that point that when you chant it, you feel those spiritual emotions? So that's the famous verse, "Trinad api sunichena, taror api suhishuna, amanena manadena, kirtaniya sada hari." That
Let's
once
put
you
it on the
chant-
board, Mara.
put it on the
Everyone
board.
should learn that verse. Everybody on this Zoom board, you should have that one memorized. You should be able to
It's-
have that flowing out of your mouth. That's like
It's,
a
it said that
standard.
a Bhakti yogi it said they should wear this around their neck. It's like, it's something that never leaves you. It's with you at every moment.
I've seen devotees tattoo this verse around their neck.
'Cause sometimes that's
I'm
nice.
serious, though. Actually, they've seen,
I know.
because it said you should wear it like a
Bengali.
garland.
Yeah. So one should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw on the street, right? Humility. Right? One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, right? One should be ready to offer all respects to others. And in such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. Right? I don't...
Ready
I'm-
to offer all respects to others. Sometimes it's put as not looking for respect, but ready to offer respect.
Here,
The material
in this
world has the
translation, it
opposite.
said devoid of all sense of false prestige.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So,
Like, go ahead.
Material world is like the opposite. I'm looking for respect, but I don't want to give any respect to other people.
I want to be the center.
Everything is the opposite. If you want to enter into this magical place, you got to just start undoing all these things that are natural, that appear natural, these defaults where dig into my heels, finding fault, going into criticism, blaming other people, not forgiving them, giving respect, not expecting respect.
Yeah. It's that mentality that makes us receptive to the potency of these spiritual practices, like chanting these names, right?
Mm.
The potency's there, but I have no attraction for them. Why? Because your mind's always disturbed, because you're always looking for prestige, and you're not respectful to others, and you're intolerant, and you're not humble.
Yeah.
So you got a disturbed mind. You got a mind that's full of anxiety. You're not a Vaikuntha person, right? You're not able to absorb it all. I was thinking that, I've just seen a couple examples in my life, because in other words, what we read yesterday was like, it has to do with what you hear, and and if you hear the right stuff, you become free of anxiety, even in this world, you know?
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. And
You want to get anxiety? Watch the news.
yeah, just get into all that mundane talk,
Anxiety things like they're good for clicks. You got to get something really extreme. You don't want to hear some good news that doesn't attract clicks. Nowadays, there's so much competition for attention on the internet that they have to put really extreme things out there, like things that get up your gander to get that click. You like
Yeah.
that? Get up your gander?
Get up your gander, okay?
Get up your gander. Is that a real statement? Did I make that up?
I think you made it up.
I think it's from like the 50s.
I think it's something about the goose and the gander, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
someone came to me and said, or I'll just put it this way. If you have somebody that's driving you a little crazy in your life, and people come up to me all the time, Raghu, this person's driving me a little crazy. This person hurt my feelings, or this person, it's a very common thing. I always say, man, how are you doing with your chanting? And they'll say, oh, I'm doing pretty good with my chanting. How are you doing with like your sadhana? Oh, I'm doing pretty good with my sadhana. I think you're really good with your chanting. You're really good with your sadhana. You listen to Wisdom of the Sages, or you have a regular hearing going on. You are making a lot of advancement, and that means Krishna is sending you. He's basically sending you some medicine to take it to the next level. So whenever you get in some quagmire, whenever you get your feet like that, whenever you get your feet stuck in the mud, so to speak, and there's somebody especially like in your face driving you a little crazy, you should think, Krishna has sent me this person. It's got nothing even to do with the person. Krishna has sent me this person for my evolution. It's the perfect medicine that I need. And sometimes medicine is sweet, right? Like elderberry syrup, sweet. It's pretty good. Sometimes it's one of those alcohol tinctures where you're like, oh, this is horrible. Sometimes the medicine is incredibly bitter or astringent, and sometimes it's very sweet. So if you get some being perhaps that's driving you crazy, this being was sent for you. Krishna tagged them to do exactly what you need to undo. And sometimes it's owning responsibility, letting any resentment go, seeing things from broadening my perspective. These are huge.
I love it, Raghu.
You're favored.
Yeah.
You're going through troubles, you're favored.
Well, I was thinking of examples just in my own life. I've seen few examples that I want to share related to what we're talking about here.
Tell me.
Related to the idea that anxiety, it dissipates for one who's hearing the right messages. And if we don't do that, even externally, if we're kind of like trying to embrace a life of peace and harmony, it's just, it tends to just be like superficial. But when it gets tested, it falls apart, And so and that one, the negative one is, I live right around the corner from that strawberry fields in Central Park.
Oh, yeah.
And they have that nice little space where it's kind of like a tribute to John Lennon, and it has that mosaic in the ground that
It's like a little part of Central Park they dedicate to John Lennon, and people come there. They put flowers on the little plaque, and they sing Beatles songs like spontaneously.
Yeah, so they sing Beatles songs there every day. There's always someone in there. It's
It's like the 24-hour kirtan.
It's kind of like a 24-hour kirtan. They do it like in the afternoons and into the evening. And there's a group of guys that like sing there, like they switch off. They must have some kind of schedule, and they work on it. They.
Oh, you think it's organized? I thought it was just random.
No. There's no question it's organized. Yeah. And so it's so close to me. I pass through there all the time, and regularly I'll just stop and hang out for hear a song or two, you know. And I'm not saying this to criticize this person because I think they're nice people and everything. But there's like one guy singing the other day, and he's singing his Beatles song about peace and all that. And then another guy that hangs out there regularly had a tambourine. And when the first one was singing, the other guy with the tambourine kind of got up and he was just kind of walking around and singing and so on. And then the first guy that was singing, he just like broke, he just stopped the song. And he said, I just want everyone to know I'm not with this guy. This guy, he just started cussing the guy out, you know, like
Oh no.
every time I start to sing, this guy gets up and he's just trying to steal the spotlight. And, you know, he's just like going off like this, like really heavy, you know.
Oh, musicians.
Yeah, he's like, he's every time, and you got to stop doing this, man. I'm getting sick of it. You know, you're trying to steal the spotlight every time. And he just like went off like, and then he just started singing again. You're like, I get by with a little help from my friends. You know, I was just like, whoa. And again, I'm not like saying this to like criticize that person. I think he's a nice guy and everything, but you can just see it's like, you know, even within like, you know, that hippie world and everything, like just like right underneath, as soon as it gets challenged, you know, the desire for peace and everything like that's a beautiful thing. But but unless we're doing like that spiritual work and that spiritual transformation, it'll get challenged. And when it gets challenged, it falls apart.
Hmm.
But I've thought of two examples of people that like they have chosen to like listen to and hear like messages of Krishna and how it frees them of anxiety. And the first one is you, Raghu. You know, like, you know, you mentioned the other day, you know, you're going through a lot of stuff in life right now. You know, a lot of stuff that can really depress someone, that can be hard. You know, just hard stuff.
Hard stuff.
And but what you're doing is you're just deciding every morning I'm going to read Bhagavatam, every evening we're going to have Sweet Baby Krishna, and that is keeping you, you know,
Sane.
sane. Yeah, even as you go through like the really hard stuff in life, you know, the stuff in life where people really break down, you know, it's keeping you, you know, you're happy and you're moving through life and you're optimistic and positive, and you know, it is like that. You know, it keeps you focused on what's real and what's eternal, even as the temporary things in life are shifting. You know.
Mm.
But the other example I was thinking about was a friend of ours, Ananda Bihari, who's he's a regular other. He listens to every show, and you know, I was yesterday afternoon. I went to Brighton Beach.
Oh, your life.
Yeah, well, I go in the
Stu was
afternoon.
out at the beach.
And so I'm swimming in the water there, you know, and I swim back and forth, you know, along the beach, and then I'm swimming along, and I look for, and there I see Ananda Bihari, and his wife Chinmay Radha.
That was unplanned. You just saw him there. Or
Yeah.
Is that like the devotee hangout spot you go to?
No, well, they go there. They go there on occasion. I go on their occasion, but this is the first time I saw the full family there together, and they had their little daughter Gurangi. And but it's nice. You're swimming in the water, and you run into these, you know, really sweet devotees in the water, you know, and and we were all just so happy to see each other, you know, playing around in the water. And then, you know, I was just sitting with Ananda Bihari, and you know, like kind of that section, like you can kind of sit in the water and like right at the edge, and the waves are washing over you, and you can just hang out. It was really nice, you know.
Mm.
And he was just telling me about his life. You know, now literally the name Ananda Bihari, it's a name for Krishna, right?
It's a great name.
And it means one who is Bihari, who's enjoying Ananda, who's enjoying bliss, right? So it's literally like Vaikuntha, right? It's like there's no anxiety, there's just bliss. And he was saying, you know, he was saying how much he appreciates Wisdom of the Sages, and saying, you know, this is my program. He said, every morning I listen to Wisdom of the Sages, and then every day I read Bhagavatam. And I also listen to my guru's, you know, talks. He's a disciple of Satchidananda Maharaj, and he was just so happy, you know, like, and he's always that way. Like the whole family, you know, Chinmay Radha, his wife, um, whenever you see them, they're just full of appreciation and they're full of happiness. You know,
Mm.
I see that. He was like a big time lawyer, you know, like I think in the Ukraine. You know, and he kind of left it behind, and he serves like a simple life now. You know, they live on the Lower East Side, and they do a lot with the you know, distributing prasadam there,
Mm.
and they just they've chosen to live a simple life. They homeschool their daughter,
Mm.
and they just serve. You see them all the time out on the Harinam, you know, doing kirtan out in the streets, and they absorb themselves in hearing. Like I said, he had a program. I'm going to listen to Wisdom of the Sages in the morning. I'm going to read Bhagavatam every day. I'm going to listen to my guru's lectures every day, rather than absorbing so many other sounds. He's carefully chosen what he's going to hear. And what I saw in him, and what I always see in him, is that Vaikuntha mood, right? It's like I'm happy serving. When I got up to when we got out of the water, like my stuff was on one side of the beach and their stuff was on the other, and so I went, to dry off and all that, and then he came running up to me with like a peach and a nectarine, like and he gave them to me, and he said, "Here, Kaustubha, these are from the farmer's market. They're really good. Please take these." Like and you could just see, like, this is the Vaikuntha mood, right? It's like he just greeting me with such happiness, and then running up there and saying, "Here, you take this. I want you to have this." It's like it, it's the mood of service, and it's the mood of service that grows out of hearing the right stuff. And when you're in that mood, you let go of all your anxieties in life. You see life through different eyes with a different perspective. It's true, it's real, and it's only from that. It's from that perspective. It's from that mood where these spiritual practices become effective, right? In other words, that's the Trinada piece in Ichena, that humility and that kindness, that respecting others, that not needing respect for oneself. It gives you this peaceful mind, a Vaikuntha mind. And that Vaikuntha mind, it becomes then we transform when we meditate on these mantras or hear all the spiritual practices become really powerful. So,
It really
I see
protects
examples
us.
of this in my life. Yeah.
It's like protection from going to our defaults of overwhelm, anxiety, depression, rage. That's some of us have been programmed. Like when things get tough, when I'm losing in life, or when there's transition,
Yeah.
there's shifting, there's heartbreak, we go right there.
It's involuntary once you're
it's
programmed that way.
It's involuntary. So we do our best to take shelter. And that's what a sadhana is. It's sadhana means not when I feel like reading the Gita, not when I feel like reading the Bhagavatam. We show up every day and do it. That's why it's so beautiful to see all the Zoomers here. And there's so many others out there we don't even see, like Ananda Bihari. I had no idea.
They're hopefully they're gonna come to the picnic, whole family.
Good. I want to meet these not weird, but
These weird
I don't need
these
these
people.
No, what I meant to say was I want to meet these mysterious, not weird, mysterious others out there. But anyway, by hearing every day, it starts to change my defaults, because red flags start to pop up. Oh, depression and anxiety. Well, I understand that this isn't even real. I'm off my track here. The train's off its tracks. I'm off my spiritual trajectory. And it makes us recalibrate it. Signs come up. It's not like I'm any more free than that guy at Central Park.
Right. It
got
can happen. It
lost.
could come out. Yeah.
But when I start going there and start blaming another person for playing their tambourine, like sometimes Mara just comes over and just starts playing a tambourine. I don't know what the heck she's doing here. I'm trying to sing a song. Now, when things come up like that for me, even when I want to go there, I've got all these red flags from the Bhagavatam saying, Raghu.
Right.
Take
That's not going to
responsibility for this.
No happiness down that road. Right?
Yeah, take some responsibility, man.
Yeah. Nice. All right. Okay, so that's kind of a recap from yesterday, but now let's get into today, huh? You ready? This is exciting stuff now.
You didn't even get into today yet?
No, we haven't started reading yet. Why don't you start at text 26?
Text 26.
These are the four Kumars. They're entering the gates of Vaikuntha.
Thus the great sages, Shanaka, Sanatana, Sanandana, and Sanat Kumar.
Sometimes
they do that a lot,
do that,
don't
right?
they? They give you names. If they have kids, they give the names that are similar.
Yeah.
Is that a common thing? Is it?
Yeah.
We know these guys from Vrindavan. Their names are, they're three brothers, Krishna Bihari, Kunja Bihari, and
Bridge Bihari.
Bridge Bihari.
Bridge Bihari.
Yeah, the guys from Ganga Prasad.
Right.
Bridge Bihari, Kunja Bihari. Okay, so Shanaka, Sanatana, Sanandana, and Sanat Kumar. And upon reaching the above mentioned Vaikuntha in the spiritual world, by dint of their mystic yoga performance, perceived unprecedented happiness. They found that the spiritual sky was illuminated by highly decorated airplanes piloted by the best devotees of Vaikuntha and was predominated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They were planes that were piloted. What? Text 27. After passing through the 6 entrances of Vaikuntha Puri, Puri is like a city, the Lord's residence, without feeling astonishment at all the decorations, they saw at the 7th gate 2 shining beings of the same age, armed with maces. A mace like a club, adorned with the most valuable jewelry, earrings, diamonds, helmets, garments, etc.
It wasn't like the spray mace.
No, they didn't use spray mace. They just carried clubs.
Yeah.
Just in case. The 2 doormen were garlanded with fresh flowers, which attracted intoxicated bees, and which were placed around their necks and between their 4 blue arms. From their arched eyebrows, discontented nostrils, and reddish eyes, they appeared somewhat agitated. So these are like, if you could flash back to the nightclub scene in New York City, Kaustubha, when you want to get into a club and there's like one of those, what do they call those? Those red.
Bouncer?
They have those like those red little gates they put up.
And the ropes.
And the ropes, and the bouncer comes out with a clipboard, and everyone's trying to get in that club, and he's looking on the list and he points, you can come in. You can come in. No, you can't come in. You can't come in. And he's got so much power. This is these gatekeepers. They got a little power up there, and they're deciding who can come into the gates of Vaikuntha.
And now that they've got 4 little naked boys there.
4 little naked. Imagine 4 little naked boys want to get into like a Studio 54 or some nightclub in New York City, and the guy's like, no, can't come in. All right, come on in.
But I bet they would have got into Studio 54.
I know. Back then, like anybody could get it. Back when we were kids,
Anything that was unusual.
you didn't need a fake ID. The 4 boys.
No. Text 29.
The great sages, headed by Shanaka, had open doors everywhere. They had no idea of ours and theirs. With open minds, they entered the 7th door out of their own will. And just as they had passed through the 6 doors, which were made, they walked through the 7th door just as they passed through the 6th door, which were made of gold and diamonds.
Okay, let's read the commentary to this one.
Okay.
Want me to do it?
You read it.
The great sages, namely Sanaka, Sanandana, and Sunat Kumara, although very old in years, maintained themselves eternally as small children. They were not at all duplicitous, and they entered the doors exactly as little children enter places without any idea of what it means to trespass. That is a child's nature. A child can enter any place and no one checks them.
I never thought of it like that.
Yeah. It's like,
Child's just wandering around. They
don't
walk
know,
into your house,
yeah.
take things.
Indeed, a child is generally welcome in their attempts to go places. But if it so happens that a child is checked from entering a door, they naturally become very sorry and angry. You've seen that? That is the nature of a child. In this case, the same thing happened. The childlike saintly personalities entered all the 6 doors of the palace, and no one checked them. Therefore, when they attempted to enter the 7th door and were forbidden by the doorman, who checked them with their sticks, they naturally became very angry and sorrowful. An ordinary child would cry. But because these were not ordinary children, they immediately made preparations to punish the doorman, for the doorman had committed a great offense. And this is an interesting line Prabhupada ends this commentary with. He says, even to this day, a saintly person is never checked from entering anyone's door in India. True, right? It's like there's this kind of like...
unwritten law. You're a saintly
Yeah.
person, you come on in.
Yeah, it's like we open the door and we want to serve them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
When we
Okay.
were young, you could go on the trains for free if you were
sadhus.
wearing saffron robes. Once me and Parmananda went to see this famous Ayurvedic doctor in Delhi. What was his name?
Oh, yeah.
Dr.
Chaturvedi.
Triguna.
Triguna?
Dr. Triguna. And we got there late, not realizing this guy sees like 300 people a day. And so we're sitting there in the seat, sort of crestfallen, waiting like we're going to be here forever. And some man comes up to us. Jai Shri Krishna, Prabhus, please come up front. Please come up front. We're like, I don't want to cut the line. They're like, you want me to cut the line? We're like, yes. If you're sadhus, anyone dedicating their life to God can come up front. And so there's a deep woven respect for anybody who's on a spiritual path. What a nice way to look at things. All right, text 30. The four boy sages who had nothing to cover their bodies but the atmosphere. Is that a nice way to put it? Nothing to cover their bodies but the atmosphere. Looked only 5 years old. Even though they were the oldest of all living creatures and had realized the truth of the self. But when the porters, who had happened to possess a disposition quite unpalatable to the Lord, saw the sages, they blocked their way with their staffs, despising their glories, although the sages did not deserve such treatment at their hands.
So yeah, their disposition was unpalatable to the Lord. Sometimes even in the name of serving God, we're doing things that are like unpalatable to God, right?
Sure.
When that ego sets in, right? So this is the commentary to this one. The four sages were the firstborn sons of Brahma. Therefore, all other living entities, including Lord Shiva, are born later and are therefore younger than the four Kumars. Although they looked like 5-year-old boys and traveled naked, the Kumars were older than all the other living creatures and had realized the truth of the self. Such saints were not forbidden to enter the kingdom of Vaikuntha, but by chance the dormant objected to their entrance. This was not fitting. The Lord is always anxious to serve sages like the Kumars, but in spite of knowing this fact, the dormant astonishingly and outrageously prohibited them from entering. Okay, text 31.
When the Kumars, although by far the fittest persons, were forbidden entrance by the two chief doorkeepers of Sri Hari, while other divinities looked on, their eyes suddenly turned red because of anger due to their great eagerness to see their most beloved master, Sri Hari, the personality of Godhead.
Okay, so now the little sages become angry. But there's a really interesting... well, we can read the whole commentary because Srila Prabhupada is going to mention it here. You ready?
Yep.
This one's a little bit longer. According to the Vedic system, a sannyasi, a person in the renounced order of life, is dressed in saffron-colored garments. This saffron dress is practically a passport. And this is what you're just saying, right? It's practically a passport for the mendicant and sannyasi to go anywhere. Go to the front of the line, right? Come onto the train. It's free for you, Come into my home. The sannyasi's duty is to enlighten people in Krishna consciousness. Those in the renounced order of life have no other business but preaching the glories of the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, in the Vedic sociological conception, the Vedic sociological conception is that a sannyasi should not be restricted. He is allowed to go anywhere and everywhere he wants, and he's not refused any gift he might demand from a householder. The four Kumars came to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana. The word suhritama, best of all friends, is important. So the Lord here was called Suhritama. Suhrit, he's the friend, and Uttama means like the greatest friend, right? As Lord Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita, he's the best friend of all living entities, Suhridam Sarvabhutanam. No one can be a greater well-wishing friend to any living entity than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is so kindly disposed towards everyone that in spite of our completely forgetting our relationship with the Supreme Lord, he comes himself, sometimes personally, as Lord Krishna appeared on this earth, and sometimes as his devotee, as did Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and sometimes he sends his bona fide devotees to reclaim all fallen souls. Therefore, he is the greatest well-wishing friend of everyone, and the Kumars wanted to see him. The doorkeeper should have known that the four sages had no other business, and therefore to restrict them from entering the palace was not apt. All right. Now, this commentary gets still more interesting. It says, in this verse, it is figuratively stated that the younger brother of desire suddenly appeared in person when the sages were forbidden to see their most beloved personality of Godhead.
The
So
younger
there was a
brother of
word
desire.
the younger brother of desire. So the word is kam anujena. So kam anuja. Anuja means to follow, right? Like sometimes we'll say we are Rupa Anugas. We follow Rupa Goswami, right? Anu means to follow. Or even in people's names, like Ramanuja, right? Do you know what Ramanuja means?
Follower of Ram.
It means to follow Ram, but it means someone in particular. It means Lakshman, right? Like
Lakshman, that's
Ramanuja,
right.
because like he's the younger brother. He follows Ram.
Sure.
So
And
Anuja can
Shatrugna
mean,
followed Bart.
there you go.
Thought
So
you
so so
appreciate
so
that.
it can mean the younger brother in that sense. So here it says Kam Anuja, Kam Anujena,
The younger brother of
of
desire.
kama, of desire, is anger. You see? It's speaking about anger, but it's calling anger Kamanuja. Because anger is what it follows desire. Interesting, right?
Yeah. Dhyayato vishayan pumsha sangasteju bhajayate. Right. Contemplating objects to the senses, you develop attachment to them.
Kama.
Right. And once you develop attachment, anger arises.
Yeah, Kroda.
Krodha. Because if I want it, but I can't get it, then I get angry.
Interesting way to look at it. So it says again, in this verse, it is figuratively stated that the younger brother desire suddenly appeared in person when the sages were forbidden to see their most beloved personality of Godhead. The younger brother of desire is anger. If one's desire is not fulfilled, the younger brother anger follows. Here we can mark that even great saintly persons like the Kumars were also angry, but they were not angry for their personal interests.
No.
They were angry because they were forbidden to enter the palace to see the personality of Godhead. Therefore, the theory that in the perfectional stage one should not have anger is not supported in this verse. Anger will continue in the liberated stage. These four mendicant brothers, the Kumars, were considered liberated persons, but still they were angry because they were restricted in their service to the Lord. The difference between the anger of the ordinary person and that of the liberated person is that an ordinary person becomes angry because their sense desires are not being fulfilled. Whereas a liberated person like the Kumars becomes angry when restricted in the discharge of duties for serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? In the previous verse, it has been clearly mentioned that the Kumars were liberated persons. Viditatma tattva means one who understands the truth of self-realization. One who does not understand the truth of self-realization is called ignorant, but one who understands the self, the super self, their interrelation, and the activities in self-realization is called Viditatma tattva. Although the Kumars were already liberated persons, they nevertheless became angry. This point is very important. Becoming liberated does not necessitate losing one's sensual activities. Sense activities continue in the liberated stage. The difference is, however, that sense activities in liberation are accepted only in connection with Krishna consciousness, whereas sense activities in the conditioned stage are enacted for personal sense gratification. Boom.
Interesting. Mara, what you got for us today? In the bag of nugs, we call it. The bag of nugs.
Is that what we call it?
Don't we call it the bag of nugs? Did I just make that up?
No.
No, we don't call it that.
All right, I got some good stuff. I'm quick to apologize and quick to forgive.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
One for each side of your neck.
Squash it quick, give a hug.
Squash it quick, give a hug.
Squash it quick.
Some people need that today. You can take that with you today. Put it in your pocket. Write it down. Squash it quick, give a hug.
The pain of humbling oneself is less than the pain of offending someone.
Pain of humbling oneself is less. Yes, that's a good one.
Once you get a body, expect anxiety.
I
Your connection with
don't
divinity.
want that tattoo or t-shirt. Okay, go on.
Your connection with divinity can't be taken away.
True.
Cultivate the Vaikuntha mood for effective spiritual practices.
Yes.
And hearing every day changes your default.
Boom. Right
Ooh,
on.
that's pretty good. Let's get some music here.
All right, hold on. I sleep at the wheel here. Here we go. This is my favorite part where this clap comes in here.
Woo!
Right there.
That gets me moving. Thanks, everybody. Hey, it's Friday. No, it's Thursday.
That's right.
And we did it. We were at the Srimad Bhagavatam at 5 a.m. again. Woo! Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Bhagavatam, we do this stuff every day. Try to hear and chant every day, and try to hear in the evening, too. We're not having Sweet Baby Krishna tonight. We'll pick that up on Monday. But it's so sweet to have everybody join us. Thanks for everybody who supports us through the Patreon. It's patreon.com/wisdom of the sages. If you like what we're doing, this is community supported. So you give a little donation every month. It keeps this whole party happening. We'll keep the dance flowing. If you heard some little piece of some juicy nugget today, you write it down, you take a picture of it, you post it on your stories, and then you tag us, and then we share it, because sometimes people just need a little nugget that you have for them. We pass this stuff around, we share it. We share this love, or else we end up sharing the hate. That's never good. See you at the picnic. If you want to join that picnic, write us wisdom of the sages 108@gmail.com. Write picnic in the subject line. Write your name, who's coming, and your phone number, because we're going to text message people if there's a rain. What do you call that? A rain date? Not a rain date, but we're gonna move it to the Bhakti
Also to
Center.
give the exact location too.
Yes, because the exact location is quite secret.
Mm-hmm.
We like to keep things secret here. Now lift your hands in the air. Take that namaste. Start to move it back and forth. There he is, Dr. Justin. Come on, give him something, Justin.